Super. Back once again, and it's good to see no one right now, but hopefully more people coming in. One of those Sundays, at least at my place, where things seem relaxed, but work is always a continuum. So that's how it is. So where do I pick up things? Okay, so I pick up things by trying to really look at how can we look within. But it's not easy. Of course, nothing is really easy in life. But there are instances where sometimes, and okay, let me scratch that out. Most of the times, if you look internally, you will seek answers, and it's not necessarily it's not necessary that you go external to find answers, but then that's the role of life. That's how the drum rolls in life keep beating themselves. Good part here is that when you introspect and believe me, introspection sucks out a lot from within. It's not easy. It seems easy. It's probably easy to write about it, but to implement it in action is one of probably the toughest modes of finding yourself, or maybe mannerisms of finding yourself. So maybe the life inside you is equally important than the sort of life you'd like to portray externally. Having said that, there are no rights and wrongs, but let's also give both facets of life a chance. So let's start with the things which we do regularly. Creating an impression of ourselves externally. Well, of course, we do need that. That's because there are a lot of things involved in people being part of societies and communities. By communities, I don't necessarily mean within your area. It could be beyond that district, state, city, county, or whatever terms that you use. Sometimes conformity to that community or community guidelines is important. At least that's what you see on YouTube. There are community guidelines that people want you to conform to. And of course, there are huge reasons behind that because what seems right for some people is sometimes construed the other way by others. So hence we try to bring it down to a very level playing field where everyone speaks the truth, or rather an instance of the truth, and people share opinions and find answers. You don't try to go overboard, you don't try to underplay, but of course you just try to continue doing the best that you can in terms of abilities. Now there's a reason I said I'd like to look internally. That's also because number one, toughest things to do. Number two, there's always a thrill in doing the toughest things, the toughest things possible. So a little bit of it gives you that edge, it gives you that thrill, and it pushes you to the brink sometimes. So why should you, or why should I, you, or anyone rather look inside? That's because maybe, and this may be because there is a fire within, or you are part of small molecules or atoms that really create the entire body of yours. It's perhaps those cells within you that have the actual answers, or maybe within each strand of your DNA, there are answers that you've not really given a deep thought about. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you know that considering the DNA of yours, that is 23 strands of X, 23 strands of Y. Basically, those are, I mean, your DNA has so much information that you haven't really even scratched the surface. And as we speak, of course, scientists are looking at ways and means of getting more information. And your DNA, that is yours and mine, they all contain information that can probably rewind generations. I mean, by generations, I mean going back 3 to 400 years, probably, where you try to seek answers, as in who my forefathers or foremothers were. And who were those people? Were they tribes in a certain area of the world? But did they move out of those areas because of opportunities and traveled across the expanse of this world and finally resided at some place because they felt this is where life could give them a chance? So yes, sometimes looking inside is one of the greatest and probably the most critical aspects of your life. Um, it might not give you all the answers. I mean, I know. Unfortunately, we are in an age where you're looking for answers instantly, and sometimes, especially the answers around life, take a good 5, 10, 15 years, maybe. Sometimes much more than that. But then it's a process. It's a process which involves you actually sitting down, finding your zone. Another important topic that we should speak about very soon. Finding your zone is equally important. Sort of puts you within a shell. Of course, it's a breakable shell. It puts you in a shell and puts you in a zone. It sort of calms your mind, sort of brings yourself to a certain Zen like situation where maybe if you really meditate quite hard, and by hard, I don't mean intensity. I mean, I don't really mean in terms of pressure, I mean more of intensity. So if you really meditate well, you will be able to connect with each and every chakra or maybe each and every organ of yours and try to understand it in that deep manner. So that's why the inside talk is some was at most times extremely essential. And of course, external talk has its positives. External talk gives you perspectives. I think that's the important part because you have a perspective that is internal, you have a perspective that is external, and there are people who have multiple layers of perspectives that are essential for you to understand, extremely essential for you to understand, because each one of them, and I rewind back to that talk of DNA, so they come with their DNA wired in a certain manner, and it's not necessarily correct that whatever they say is at the absolute and the only truth, but always good to have an extra wiring of perspective. Let's put it in this way: always good to have extra perspectives which bring you closer to something which you've never heard about. Having said that, I've been doing certain things on Quora. Uh, Not really very active, but of course, it's always nice to know that people like this Q&A sort of situation, and they keep posting questions, which is great. That means everyone is out there to seek answers, and hence they keep asking questions. That's the inquisitiveness of the mind, body, and soul, maybe. So I keep getting questions. I try to answer them. Some can be as random as, "What do I do with my life?" And someone says, "I'm depressed. How do I address that?" Some say, "How do I know myself better?" Some questions have multiple layers within them. So those are the sort of questions which I really like. But then that zaps you in terms of uh, just trying to give them an answer which is helpful. So important to look into that. I recall a question, let's say, or maybe a couple of questions I had. So someone says, "Does manifesting things we want really work?" I'd say yes. Once again, you shouldn't be looking for instant answers. So manifesting sometimes works over periods of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So you manifest something. Of course, it's human tendency to manifest something which is positive. So yes, I think this is a question from. I don't see two names. So of course, the first name Manisha. Okay, so manifesting is great. Yes, manifesting does work. And I think there's a reason that a lot of our seasoned folks keep telling us to manifest things which are positive, because once they happen, they sort of happen, and then there's no way you can rewind. So that's why I look at things in a positive way. Of course, not easy, like I said. It's because your path is strewn with so many challenges that sometimes it's all negative, negative, negative. And then when the positive one actually comes, you're sort of stunned as in how do I respond to it? So yes, manifesting does work. Manifesting requires you to I go back to the intent of actually doing this video. The actual intent being that manifesting helps you, of course, connect with your inner self. Number one. Number two, it also puts you in a zone where you know that you are in control of yourself. Uh, Topic of managing the uncontrollables is very important. So moving that from a phase of uncontrollable to controllable is essential. I think that's where manifesting helps. Of course, manifesting does have a little bit of science. A lot of people think it's a thug sort of attitude, but not really. I mean, there are people who sort of feed off the miseries of others. And manifesting does help. I would say that if you really want to manifest something, don't really go out into the world and announce it on a megaphone. It makes no sense. You'd ask why, because you want to maintain a positive intent, but let's look at this way. What you like to manifest is something between you and your closest allies or closest people within your family. So maybe and maybe, like you have multiple filters on Facebook where you sort of ensure that not everyone sees your posts. Maybe the manifesting perimeter has to be between you and a trusted circle. Let's try to keep it there. That'll be great. I hope this answer helps you. I don't know, Manisha. Then we have something like, how can I deal with overlapping struggles in my life? I mean, my first response would be to smirk, but then won't really solve the purpose. So, how do I deal with overlapping struggles in my life? Let's be honest to ourselves. I think it's 50% of your life is a struggle to actually get up in the morning, make yourself presentable, go to work, office, play, try to do a good job at it, return back in one piece, uh, zone yourself once again into doing things that you can do tomorrow in a better manner. So let's be honest, that entire process is also a struggle because you'd like to find an easy way out, but then there are no free lunches unless and until you are, but there are free buffets, right? Sorry, jokes apart. I'm saying there are no free lunches unless and until you really show intent. So for that, I think the struggle is real, and you start by picking up the actual core of the problem. Maybe you once again try to do your own research around your struggles. I know that sounds ridiculous to the core, but then that's how it is. You look at struggles in a way like this. So without those struggles, you don't really, or you won't really enjoy all that you get in those happy moments. So maybe these struggles are springboards to, or maybe a trampoline to uh, jump on and actually touch the skies of happiness, or that pink sky of happiness. Yeah, the struggle is real. I'll be honest, and that's these struggles, like you mentioned, here overlap. This is a question by an unknown person, so I don't really have a name to it. But yes, they do overlap. I mean, it's like this: of every, if your life were to be divided into 10 years each, uh, maybe that's really 10 instances of 10 years each. I'd say 50 of them or 45 of them are those tough struggles, which of course are interspersed between happiness, struggle, challenge, multiple layers of emotions, etc. And the other half is something where you've passed through an entire stage of life through this, and you're looking at the unknowns which happen in the next 20, 30 years. But the good part here is that you have some experience of managing the overlapping struggles and imbibe living through the positives. And then you look at the next phase of life where you think, oh, well, how bad can it be? And maybe I have this, maybe I have this at the back of my hand, but once again, life keeps throwing you a challenge. But that's the thrill. I think a lot of my senior folks keep telling me that the thrill of life is actually the struggle and everything in between. Yeah, that's correct. Let me leave it at that, or else I'll start sounding like a seer. One very direct question: what will you do after 60 years old? And this is by a name known as by someone with a name known as Rizvi. Okay, not very sure about that. But yes, what do I do after 60? After 60, you become a teacher. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that. So after 60, you are actually, or you actually get the license to speak about what others shouldn't be doing in their 20s and 30s. I mean, yes, you of course get the label of old man, uh, the silvering man, etc., the silvering woman in multiple cases, in all cases whatsoever. So you actually get the, maybe it's like this: if life were a car, you get a license plate which says advanced age superhuman. So that way, you, in case, and a lot of people, and you'll notice that those who really want to find answers in life will come to you, and those who really live by the edge will not really try to seek your life because they feel, yeah, the topics of discussion are boring, and you will only give them, and they feel that these are 10,000 feet answers, and I shouldn't be really speaking to you. So that's what. So once you touch 60, of course, you'll be at some stage in life where your finances, hopefully and God willing, should be in check. You'll probably have a family or a smallish family or someone to look forward to, maybe. And if you don't have one, at least you have yourself. So just be optimistic of what you have around you. And then, of course, you can contribute through mentorship. I think that's very essential because, and that's something which I read somewhere in the very near past, very recent past, which said that at some point in time, maybe in 30, 40 years, we'll have a substantial population of people touching their 60s and 70s. You know, what do we do with them? Of course, they won't be having the same zest and energy towards life, but of course, it's their experiences that count, and sometimes learning from them is essential. And maybe that's where mentorship comes into the picture. So, mentorship in terms of what not to do in your early ages, what to do in the mid of your life, and how do you plan for life beyond your 60s. I think you should be able to give some decent inroads into that, and people will only thank you for it. And any interesting question? I hope to. What is the meaning of a friend? Whoa, crazy, isn't it? Friend is someone you do not take advantage of, and maybe someone who you can always rely on no matter what happens in life, and someone who's got your back. Simple. I think I can't give a more straightforward answer to that. And yes, someone who knows you inside out, like your back in the front of your hand. Someone asked a very simplistic question, which is simple based on your judgment. How does life at times become difficult to live based on so many factors, external, internal, socio-economic, political, maybe? But yes, life is life. I think the only difference between live and life is a change in the alphabets in between. So yeah, so change is the constant and life keeps moving on. Maybe you can go on with that mantra. How do I tackle negativity, especially when you are going through the bad times of your life? I think this goes back to a lot of discussions we had earlier. But yes, what I'd like to say to this gentleman or this woman, you have to take it in your stride. I think we don't really have options. But yes, one best option that you have is shun away those people who you feel are negative uh, in their life, or carry an aura which isn't too pleasing. I think maybe shunning them off, maybe in the nicest way possible, is the best way to deal with it. Someone asks, what is the real motto behind living a life? The real motto behind living a life is ensuring that one fine day when you have 24 hours of day all to yourself and you have nothing to do, you're able to rewind, possibly rewind, uh, rewind, pause, relive those memories, and also try to make memories for the future by ensuring that your dearies are around you. I think that's the best answer I can give you for a motto towards living life. And Vishal, if you're out there, I think this should help you. What else can we actually pick up? Oh, interesting question. How can I make life easier for all the needy people? I think as a person, it's always your duty, and I use moral in parentheses, that it's your duty to ensure that you bring this iota of difference in someone's life. Could be financially, could be by helping them out when they need you, and picking up the strands and helping them connect it when really down in the dumps. I think there's nothing else that you can do beyond that. That itself is pure gold or titanium in certain cases. And of course, I will not go into political stuff. And they say, what can I do when love is missing in my life? Whoa, this is crazy. Come to think of it, love never really goes out of your life. It's probably the people, or maybe the people who we expected from the maximum. Sometimes they don't really live up to that. Maybe sometimes expectations are also a pain. But yes, love never really goes out of your life. Maybe gets lost in those multiple other layers of emotions, but love is always there. Love is something that you continue to seek no matter what stage in your life you are, because it keeps happening. It might have facets and multiple other facets to it, but love is something that you never lose. It is with you there always. It's about you finding it out, or maybe sometimes excavating it so deep that it looks like a diamond from below, right from above, and then it gives you that sort of happiness which brings a sparkle in your life. And as I conclude this discussion, I hope you have a lot of more sparkles in your life, and you find your answers, you find your solutions, and of course, you find your ways and means of doing things the right way and doing it correctly, because you want to live in a society which accepts you. But yes, have that creative streak and never let it be doused. Until then, if you find time and if you enjoy these sermons, and these not really sermons, but small little nuggets of wisdom, if you enjoy them, I love to come back and speak to you again. Till then, stay safe. It's essential that you stay safe, and There's always someone who is somewhere to ensure that your life is peaceful. And take care. Thank you.